It can be quite confusing looking at various videos and posts on the internet on what we should and should not be eating. Somebody will say that we should not be having carbs at all. Somebody else will say that protein is not really good for our health, and fat has been labeled as bad for a long time now. The thing is that all of these posts, all of these content are partially true and not completely true. It is only when we understand the core concept of health and longevity, we are able to extract the useful information out of these content pieces and disregard the one which is not so useful for us. In this video, I'll help you understand these core concepts so that you are able to make the right food choices for yourself. Let's start with defining the word healthy itself. Unfortunately, in our Indian society, people who have gathered a lot of fat mass, are looking chubby, are termed as healthy, which is where the problem begins. Hence, somebody who's working out and has lost a lot of fat mass is considered unhealthy and weak by these Indian standards. People who are a little bit more aware will go to the BMI scale and try to figure out if their weight is an ideal weight or not, which is again not the right way to define what is healthy. BMI was actually developed to figure out the health of a population. It's a good statistical tool to know what percentage of people are overweight. But when it comes to an individual, when it comes to people who have different body types, BMI fails miserably. What BMI will do is that it will rate somebody who has high muscle mass but less weight as unhealthy, but somebody who has high fat mass and high weight as healthy, which for sure is not the right way to measure if somebody is healthy or not. So the next question is, if BMI is not the right way of measuring the health of a person, how do we measure if somebody is healthy or not? There are two things that we have to keep in mind here. The number one thing is metabolic health. If you have a good metabolic health, you will be able to perform the day-to-day activities in your life comfortably. You will be able to keep many diseases like heart attacks at bay. You'll also be able to live a much longer and higher quality of life. Having a good metabolic health implies having your blood pressure in control, having your blood glucose in control, which you will measure using your fasting blood glucose, your HbA1c, having your blood cholesterol in control, which is measured in terms of triglycerides, your LDL levels, your ApoB levels, etc. The second thing which defines whether you're healthy or not is how strong your heart is, how strong your lungs are, and how strong are your muscles. Because these three things ensure how long you will be able to live, whether you'll be able to walk on your own feet or not in old age, and if you will be able to enjoy physically demanding activities even in your 60s or 70s or not. And there are ways in which you can measure whether your heart and lungs are strong or not. You can look at numbers like VO2 max, which measures the amount of oxygen your lungs can handle when you're performing a vigorous activity. The higher number is of course better. You can measure it through your resting heart rate. Somebody who's fitter will have a lower resting heart rate than somebody who's not. Another metric to measure the health of your heart is heart rate variability. Higher number implies a fitter individual. Most of the fitness devices that we have in the market will give you a good sense on these numbers. You can also measure the strength of your body by figuring out the percentage of body fat that you have and your waist to hip ratio. Now, how can we leverage food to stay healthy? A simple mechanical device like a car needs so many things to function properly. Similarly, our bodies also need various nutritions to function properly. Our body needs carbs, it needs fats, it needs fiber, it needs protein, it needs water, it needs air. Of course, our body is more advanced and more intelligent than a car, and it can handle some period of deficiencies, but prolonged period of deficiencies is bound to cause problems. There are broadly three core concepts when it comes to nutrition. The number one concept is calorie control. If you feed your body more than how much it needs, it will continue to accumulate fat. Hence, you will gain weight over time. If you feed your body less than what it needs, you will lose weight over time. Both calorie excess or calorie deficiency, when carried out for a very long time, can lead to health issues. What ideally needs to happen is that once you have reached your desired body weight, body fat, body muscle percentage, you consume as many calories as your body needs, which is your total daily energy expenditure. The second key principle of nutrition is gut health. Our gut, which is our intestine, has trillions of bacteria and viruses inside it. These viruses and bacteria are collectively called as gut microbiome. And this gut microbiome is considered a virtual organ of our body. Our gut is not only connected to our brain, but it is also connected to our heart, it is connected to our lungs, it is connected to our liver, pancreas, bone, muscle, pretty much everywhere. Hence, a diet which can help us maintain a good gut health would help us maintain a good health overall. And in order to maintain a good gut health, we have to ensure that the gut microbiome, the bacteria that we have inside our gut, is healthy and they are getting what they need. The food that these bacteria needs are essentially fibers. So if we are able to provide enough amount of fiber to our body and it is coming from diverse sources, these bacteria will thrive and in turn help us have a strong and healthy body. The third key principle of nutrition is understanding the role of macro and micro nutrition in our diet. Our body does not work only on carbs or only on fats or only on protein. It needs all of them. It needs fats because it is a source of energy. It is an integral part of our cell structure. It helps us absorb various vitamins. It helps in hormone production and regulation. And our brain health, because our brain is 60% fat. Similarly, we need carbs because carbs is a source of energy. It is a fuel for our brain. It also prevents the loss of muscle mass. And finally, protein, because protein helps us build muscles. It helps to repair and maintain our body. It helps in the production of enzymes and hormones like insulin and growth hormones. It helps the immune system by tagging bacteria and viruses which are not helpful for our system. Surely you can force your body to only work on fats or carbs on protein, but you are putting unnecessary pressure on the system, which might not be healthy in the long term. Besides these three, our body also needs vitamins and minerals and fiber to function properly. And our body doesn't care if we are vegetarian or vegan or non-vegetarian. It needs all of these vital nutrients to function properly. For example, if you're a vegetarian, your diet will be deficient in vitamin B12. If you're a vegetarian, your diet will be deficient in EPA and DHA. And almost all diets are deficient in vitamin D. So supplementing these from outside will help your body function properly. Now, with all of this information, let's go through some of the food items which have been labeled as bad. The most popular food item which has been labeled as bad is sugar. There is nothing inherently bad with sugar. The problem with sugar is that it is just a pure carbohydrate. There is no other nutrition inside sugar. And since we have to maintain a calorie balance to stay healthy, having something else which gives us fiber, some protein, vitamins and minerals along with these calories is always a better choice. Imagine having an earning of 10 lakh rupees and spending 7 lakhs on buying a car. While car is essential, but because we have overspent on the car, we have limited amount of money to spend on essential items like our child's education, housing, our healthcare, our retirement planning and so on and so forth. Similarly, if you have a lot of sugar in your diet and are looking to stay within your calorie limits, you might miss on the essential minerals and vitamins that your body needs. The second food item I want to talk about is fried items. Fried items are very high in calories. For example, if you take a potato and bake it, it will be roughly 93 calories. But if you do a deep fry, the same potato will be 310 calories because it will absorb a lot of fat in the deep frying process. Also, deep fried foods are usually cooked in oils which are high in saturated and trans fat. Saturated and trans fat have been linked to increased blood cholesterol levels. While the research is still evolving when it comes to the role of saturated fat in high cholesterol levels, and the research indicates that the saturated fat which comes from meat is harmful, while the one which comes from dairy products is not harmful. In fact, helpful in some cases, but it would still be better to exercise some caution here. USDA recommends not having more than 13 grams of saturated fat in your diet if the total amount of calories that you're consuming in a day is 2000 calories. Trans fat on the other end is detrimental and should be completely avoided. There are many countries who have banned trans fat completely, Vanaspati ghee in India is a big source of trans fat in our diet. Also, reheating and reusing oils can end up adding some trans fat in our diet. Just like sugar, moderation is the key here. Having a fried food once in a month or once in 2 months is completely okay. But having it regularly is definitely not a good idea for your health and longevity. The third item on my list is maida or white flour. Again, there is nothing inherently wrong with maida. Maida is essentially wheat flour, which has been processed to an even finer particular size, which makes it less nutritious than a whole wheat flour. If you're having maida along with a lot of fiber and other micro and micronutrients, it's an overall good meal. Just like sugar, it is not an efficient utilization of your calories. So if you're on a tight calorie budget, whole wheat is a better option than maida for you. Coming to burger and pizzas. Burger and pizzas are nothing but maida and deep fried or high fat food combined together. Again, quite expensive in the calorie content, and it is completely okay to indulge in them once in a while. The fifth and final item on my list is packaged drinks and packaged foods. These kind of foods are generally devoid of any kind of nutrition at all, and they are very, very high in sugar. They are very, very high in salt and fat content. For example, a packed juice is very, very high in sugar. It does not contain the fiber which a whole fruit contains, and it is very easy to overconsume calories in a liquid form because eating and chewing requires more effort than drinking. Similarly, cold drinks, which are essentially high amount of sugar with added flavors, are best avoided. Biscuits, chips, and cookies also fall in this category. Lots of calories without much of nutrition. It is better to avoid this category if you're looking for a fit and healthy lifestyle. Hoping this helps. This is Vivek signing off. Like, subscribe, share, and take care.